I'm Sherry Satterley, I'm the principal at Bate Middle School. I have 2 students to recognize this evening. These students competed at the Student Technology Leadership Program competition at the state level and both placed in their divisions. And I hear that was a very nerve-wracking process and that they had to wait quite some time to find out how they did. But we have Carly Villanueva. Carly placed 2nd place in the Art on Demand category. And Abigail Ellison. And Abigail placed 1st place in web design. Whoa. 1st place in web design. I also have a staff member that I wanted to recognize. This is my first year at Bate as principal, and I met this person this year, and I love her, and I could listen to her talk all day, and she's being recognized tonight because she is a published author, and her book made it onto the Kentucky Bluegrass Award master list this year in the 3 through 5 division. If you haven't read it, it is called Paper Wishes, and it is about a little girl who is living her life and then gets transferred to a Japanese internment camp during World War II and has to leave her little dog behind. And it is just the sweetest book in the world, and I felt that she deserved recognition for her book being on the Kentucky Bluegrass Award list. Miss Lois Sepabon.
This time we will get to honor those that have given their great service to the Danville school system, and we are recognizing those that are going to be retiring at the end of this year.
So this is one of those milestones that most folks, I think, only dream about, do their best to tune out, because we often recognize just how far along it takes to reach a point to be able to retire, to be able to look back upon a career and think about the number of students that have been touched, the friends that have been made, the colleagues that one has worked with, and the achievements that have accrued. So we want to take a moment to say thank you. There's never enough words to equal that, but it's important for us to recognize the fact that you have dedicated a career to serving children in whatever role that would be. That's special. There aren't many people in the world that have the strength, the courage, the perseverance, and the persistence to every day get up and go to work where you really never know exactly what's going to happen. And to make a career out of that's absolutely a fantastic thing. Ms. Ralston, I know that you've got other high school events we need to get to. Do you mind going first for us? I know there are a couple folks who couldn't make it this evening.
We have one retiree, and her name is Josie Goins, and we love her and miss her greatly every day. I don't think she's here. I don't guess she's out in the hall anywhere.
So at least we'll give her a good round of applause.
We will. She, how many years was she? I won't guess how many years she was here, but even when I first came here, she would put her around the office, and it was, I'm telling you, she was fabulous. We miss her all the time, and I'm so happy for her, though, that she's getting to retire and do what she wants to do. And we were blessed to have her in the short amount of time I was here. I was blessed to get to know her, and we want to honor her for her retirement. So her name is Josie Goins. So if you see her out, tell her congratulations.
All right, we'll work reverse order age group. Sherry, can you go next?
think I know two of my three are here. I didn't see the third one. Being my first year as principal.
I can't see it watching the wing tether to the table. Just paying.
Thank you. The first person I want to recognize, I don't think is here, and she does not enjoy recognition much at all. She does not like being recognized for her monstrous efforts. She is absolutely fabulous. And I can say I never worked with this person as a principal, but I did work alongside her for 2 years when I was at BATE as a guidance counselor. And I think any BATE employee in this room or former employee would agree that Margaret Gillum is absolutely fabulous. And she would not be here tonight because that's Margaret, but we still need to recognize her. She was our bookkeeper. She kept us right, and we were very lucky to have her. So, Margaret Gillum. The next person, this was my first year working with her as principal, but I have worked with her in the past. And this person, when she first came to BATE, she was kind of thrown into a mix of high school and middle school math all in 1 year. So she was half day middle school, half day high school. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she taught math at BATE for half the day, and then Spanish. Not the first year, right? Just math the first year.
No.
Are you sure? Okay. So Spanish also. So she's dual certified in math and Spanish. And she's taught both, and now currently she teaches Spanish and world cultures. And we have loved having her on our staff, loved her so much half day that she was brought on full time the next year, right? Okay. Miss Kay Cunningham. This last one to recognize, I saved her till last because I know her in multiple aspects. Again, she was on the site-based committee that hired me, and then she retired. I love this woman. I worked alongside her at BATE, and I had her for 8th grade social studies. I had her that long ago. She is amazing, and I think everybody in this room would agree. Anyone whose child had her in 8th grade social studies, she's just amazing. She cares about kids, all kids, and she does what's right for kids. Cecily Napier.
Mr. Labriazzo.
Good evening. I'm Leo Labriazzo. I'm the principal at Hogsett Elementary, and I just have such a great honor to recognize these people tonight. Thomas Powell, I don't think is here, but I do want to recognize him. He was our custodian, and just from the time that I got to Hogsett, it was just amazing. He never questioned what I needed. He just said, "When do you want it done?" And then I'd turn around and it would get done. So Thomas is enjoying retirement, and we need to give him a big round of applause for all he's done. And that's Thomas Powell. The next person I'd like to recognize is Miss Diane Pike. She is also one of those hard workers. It just never ceased to amaze me where her energy came from, and she loves the kids, and that's really kind of, I think, what propelled her to work as long as she did. Just the love of the kids, and then the love of our school. So it was such a pleasure to get to know her and her family. And, you know, I will always cherish that. So Diane Pike, congratulations. And the last retiree that I'm going to recognize tonight is Mr. Bill Oran. Bill came to Danville Schools with a very different past. Like he was an instructional assistant for us, but before that he had probably, I think, 2 careers out in the world. So, but he came to us, and it's that type of student or that type of teacher that comes to us after already retiring from another job and stays with us for as long as Bill did. But Bill was he was our math guru at Hogshead Elementary, and he really taught those students more than just math. And as a matter of fact, that's what I personally miss the most about not having Bill in our building so much, but just the care and the compassion that he showed to all the students. He was such a great role model, and I know that he continues to do that in the work that he continues to do. But I want to thank Mr. Bill Oran for his hard work at Hogshead.
Hello, I'm the principal at Jenny Rogers Elementary. My name is Robin Kelly, and I have a few people to recognize. I'm going to start with Miss Mary Durham. I don't see Mary here tonight. Mary left us earlier this year in December. She had been at Jenny Rogers for over 30 years, only at Jenny Rogers. She served in a few different capacities, clerical work in the office, and she was a cafeteria monitor at one time. But the majority of her years were spent in the kindergarten room as an instructional assistant. And if you haven't been to a classroom of 5-year-olds, about 25 5-year-olds lately, it's a very challenging place to come in and face those kiddos every day. She did a marvelous job. She certainly loved on her kids, and we love her and miss her. And I want to say congratulations to Mrs. Durham. The next lady I'd like to recognize tonight is Miss Elizabeth Stamps. Elizabeth left us this past summer, so she's actually been retired almost a year now, and obviously she's enjoying it so much she didn't want to come back and talk to us tonight. Elizabeth was certainly a very multifaceted person. She served in many roles at Jenny Rogers, including was one of my teachers at Jenny Rogers, and even more wonderful is that she survived my birth there. So we're glad that she's enjoying her retirement, and certainly miss her and want to congratulate her tonight as well. The next lady I'd like to recognize tonight is Miss Karen O'Connell. Karen has been the guidance counselor at Jenny Rogers for the last 4 years, and she's been in education 27 years. And has taught in different grade levels and in different districts. But we have a jewel on our hands that is leaving us very, very soon. When Karen told me she was retiring, I begged her not to. I tried to convince her to stay, that I could not do this job without her. And then after I got over the shock of her leaving, then I was jealous and I wanted to go with her. So Karen is a child whisperer. She not only has helped many students in difficult times and dark days, she's helped many of our staff in difficult times and facing disappointment and such. And she's been a true friend to me. And I love you, and I'm going to miss you.
I'm Christy Denny, and I'm the Director of Administrative Services for Danville Schools, and part of what I do is Director of Facilities, which encompasses maintenance, and we have, I don't think Johnny Worthington's here tonight. Has anybody seen Johnny? Well, I'm trying to get rid of his kid. Sorry. Don't y'all tell him. This is Junior, his dad, Johnny. His son works at Jenny Rogers. But Junior left about a month after I started working here, and I'm not going to try to take that personally. But I think that probably had a lot to do with it, right? But he's not here, and I'm really not sure how many years he worked. A lot. That's what Tracy said, a lot. And he spent the month that he was here before he left, and he fills my head full of so many things. His knowledge bank is just amazing. And I had to call him a few times after he left, but we do miss him too. The other one I want to talk about, part of what I do is also a Director of Transportation. And I don't know how many of you all know James Murphy. People know James Murphy? I knew James Murphy as Murph for years before I ever came here to Danville Schools. I'd never seen him, but I'd heard about him. My husband works for Danville Schools, and he would talk about this Danville bus driver, drives those vocational kids over there. And he would tell me Murph stories, and tell me that Murph tells lots of stories. Then when I got here and met Murph, my husband was exactly right. He's a grand fella, and he's really, really going to be missed. I tried to deny his retirement, sent it back to him. He completely ignored me. In fact, Ronnie Stantz is our transportation manager, and he said, Murph doesn't mean it, he says it every year. But then the paperwork came. So Murph meant it. He's been a bus driver for 20 years for Danville Schools, amazing. He's one of the first ones I rode with, just riding with bus drivers, and I was so impressed. I even had to tell my husband, Murph's a cool driver. He really, really builds relationships with kids. At every stop, at every school, he stands up, shoulder bumps them as they leave, pats on them, talks to them. They love him. So he's irreplaceable. Because you got a kid coming up that you raised the same way you were. We'd be happy to have that. 20 years bus driving, 19 of those years driving forensics to all of their trips, 18 of those years driving, I forgot, vocational to Garrett County Vocational. So he's done a lot of miles. Come on up, Murph. Tell me it's not true. Oh yeah, we gotta take a picture for that.
I'm going to say something real quick. There's only about 2 of us in here who went to Danville High in the 70s, early 70s, and there was one person that was that's in here that was my inspiration. He taught vocational careers, and that's I want to give a shout out to Mr. Trumbo.
I also get to honor a few people this evening. I'll start first with Kathy Belcher. Kathy will be forever known throughout this district as the energy behind some of our greatest initiatives, whether it was Read to Achieve, PEP Grant, or Dancing with the Danville Stars, which all of you at this point in time, before you leave, in tribute to Kathy, will be asked to go online and make a donation. So that's part of the thing that we'll start with the fundraising right now. But Kathy has had multiple careers and has spent her best years and made her best contributions to the Danville schools, and for that we are forever thankful.
I just want to say thank you to the board. Thank you to the board and for this opportunity. It's been an honor to help the Danville schools, and I think that I have helped them throughout the years. And the Striving Readers Grant was one of the biggest grants I ever wrote, $17 million, and it was for 23 schools in the state of Kentucky, and Danville was the fiscal agent. So that was one of the things, but I do want to thank you, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Everybody, central office folks have been great. The schools, and even our last grant with the PEP grant with physical education, all the schools, the principals, everyone has been wonderful to work with, and all the staff. So I want to tell you how much I appreciate it.
The next two I should really do together, because if there was ever a time for there to be a staff roast, these are going to be the folks I think we'd want to start with. But since we won't do it that way, first we'll make fun of Greg Schultz. Actually won't. There are those offices and those positions that exist in a district where the job title means nothing. It's about the presence that they have, it's the wisdom that they bring, it's the judgment that's infused, it's the sensitivity of knowing when to bring levity, when to bring seriousness, and the appropriate insight into a situation. Greg Schultz, through a series of roles, did that for the Danville schools. And it was his office where the real meetings happened. We would have the official meetings where everyone's invited and so forth, but it's the meetings before the meetings after the meetings, the meetings in between the meetings, where the real decisions are made, the real hard decisions are fought through, and the right ideas are always come to fruition. So Greg, we want you to come up, be recognized, and thank you very much. Greg and this next person also share one thing in common. They have picketed central office since we signed a mowing contract, because they were convinced after their retirement that they would be just as happy to sit on one of our mowers for the rest of their time in the Danville schools. So it's nice of them. Thank you for at least coming, not making a scene, but that being it. So our second person also interested in being on one of our mowers was Judy Spelcy. You think I'm kidding. Judy's career in the Danville schools is absolutely exceptional. Didn't begin here, from West Virginia, Chicago, and places in between. Ultimately, 17 years as principal of Tolliver Elementary School. We do want to make the claim that she is still alive, because when you walk into Tolliver, you see the oil paintings of the past principals. A lot of folks think that that's in memoriam. It is not. And therefore, she has many years ahead to be able to enjoy in her retirement. I asked her a huge favor when I first got to the Danville schools to see if she'd be willing to help me make central office into a system of services where schools and students were always put first. We had a retirement, and I asked her to consider coming over as our Director of Elementary Education, which she was willing to do. In fact, with Greg's retirement, her office has become the place we have meetings between, before, and after, as she is able to successfully become the person that we often seek judgment, wisdom, insight, and advice on a host of matters that are involved. Her retirement is one that we will miss sorely, and me personally, Judy, if you'll come up, has been a great friend and a great ally, and honestly one of the best educators of which I've ever worked. Again, reaching this milestone in any career, especially one that deals with children, is a heroic event. Think about it. These are folks who have spent 20, 30, 40 plus years in the service to students. And the thing about their job is that it restarts every year. First grade teachers are always first grade teachers every year. They never get to necessarily see them all the way through. Bus drivers, it's a new group of kids every year that gets from point A to point B. Every year it's a reset. And you think about just the extra anxiety and stress that goes into having a job where necessarily your progress begins again every August. The time, the toil, and the investment that takes to then be able to do that to the success that you have seen, to contribute to a greater good of the school district, is more than magnificent. So if you would, one big round of applause for all of our retirees, please.
we will move on to the next item on our agenda. We are excited to have the Danville High School AP Environmental Science class to do a presentation for us at this time. So if they would like to come forward.
Hi. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to our AP Environmental Science class's presentation. The past few months, our teacher, Ms. Murray over there, has led our class through various discussions about the consequences of our habits involving the environment.
3 weeks ago, Ms. Murray gave us an assignment to research green projects that other schools have been able to take on and find one that we believe Danville High School can implement. We then had to write a letter to Ms. Ralston with our plan, and after we presented our plans to her two weeks ago, she chose a few projects she believes would be successful at DHS.
Then our job became to come up with a plan that we could take to administration to be approved for next year. So here we are. Celeste Fieberg and Cami Chappell both came up with wonderful ideas for our school to save money, help the environment, and help the health of our students, staff, and faculty.
Celeste pointed out that we often discuss how humans negatively affect the environment. But one thing us humans seem to disregard is the fact that as we harm the environment, we also harm ourselves.
That being said, here's Celeste Fieberg to present her idea.
In our AP Environmental Science class, we learned about the environmental and health effects of polystyrene foam. And Ms. Murray is encouraging us to apply our knowledge to the real world, and particularly Danville High School. So my green project is for me to advocate for the use of reusable plates instead of styrofoam plates that we currently use in our Danville High School cafeteria. And through our research, we discovered that reusable plastic plates will ultimately be more cost-effective, environmentally friendly, and healthier for Danville High School students and faculty with no extra cost to the cafeteria staff or to Danville High School. So I talked to Dr. Slack and Ms. Ralston earlier in the year about this project, and we researched the environmental and health effects and impacts that polystyrene foam has on the environment. And polystyrene foam is made with petroleum and a monomer called styrene, which are two heavily polluting materials. And polystyrene is usually not recycled, and it can easily escape from trash cans and landfills, which harm animals and the environment. And the life of polystyrene is unknown, and some researchers believe that it will never biodegrade. And it also affects our health. It is classified as a human carcinogen and neurotoxin by the Environmental Protection Agency. And styrene residues can enter the body when food, and particularly hot food, comes in contact with foam and styrofoam plates. So by using polystyrene foam plates in the cafeteria, we are inherently harming Danville High School students, faculty, and staff by placing them at a higher risk of leukemia and lymphoma, according to the EPA. So, would you mind clicking next slide? So here is a picture with several reasons to ban styrofoam, or as an example, in New York City, in several schools and across the country have been implementing reusable plates because of all the environmental health effects. And here is Dawson, Forth, and Race Pellet to present a case study that has been done in Minnesota.
Okay. So, like Celeste already said, several schools all over the country have already made the switch. In this case, 2 schools in Minnesota switched from using disposable to reusable, and it saved the school $23,000 over 3 years and prevented 6,000 pounds of waste from going into landfills.
Okay, so the schools educated the students, family, and faculty about the benefits of the change, which is what we are doing now. And this is why we think that Danville High School should join this movement and eliminate all the disposables and become an environmentally friendly school. And here is a graph showing the first year costs and 3-year costs, their comparisons of their reusables and disposables. And as you can see, there's a very dramatic change in cost and just utensils and bowls alone.
All right, so I'm kind of a numbers guy, and even if you don't care about cancer and the environment, just saving money is kind of an important thing. So Danville High School has 508 students, and I contacted, BOE has started using, or maybe has always used, the like compartmentalized trays, and I got the information for how much those costed. So those were $4.32, and so after 3 years, the cost difference, if you're talking 1 cent for a styrofoam plate, you end up saving $396 just in 1 year, and then $863 every year after that. So it's just like free money kind of, and also the environment and cancer and stuff like that.
So one problem that was brought up when we were discussing if switching to reusable plates is feasible was whether or not it would be too much work for the cafeteria staff to wash all the reusable plates.
A few years ago, the food service director and superintendent decided to purchase reusable plates and the blue plastic trays that are currently used in our cafeteria. However, the cafeteria staff had to wash twice the amount of dishes, both the plates and the trays, which made it harder for the staff to get all their work done because washing dishes took too long.
If we got rid of the trays altogether and just used the reusable plates, as Celeste mentioned and brought up, the cafeteria staff will not be washing any more than they are now, as they have to wash the trays we currently have every day anyways. So, it's not going to be a big problem.
All right, as Sarah said, several years ago, the food service director and superintendent decided to purchase reusable plates. One major problem that arose was that students were accidentally throwing away the plates out of habit, prompting the switch back to styrofoam. However, there are many ways that we can make the transition smoother.
Okay, so as they already talked about, incoming freshmen would already be used to the divided plates because at BOE they use them for both breakfast and lunch. And to help the other students adapt, we could put up signs near the trash cans to remind them. And also the cafeteria staff could purchase covers for the trash cans that would prevent students from accidentally discarding the plates.
We found readily available funnel-shaped trash can covers at Home Depot that cost on average $6 each. With this new device, the reusable plates would not be able to fit through the opening of the trash can, therefore eliminating the problem. And that's an example of what it would look like. So we presented all of our research to Ms. Ralston about 2 weeks ago, and she suggested that we advocate for our idea and talk about our idea here at the Board of Education meeting. And I reached out to Sarah Pianowski, the cafeteria manager at Danville High School, and she said that she was already making the change to reusable plates, which was excellent. So they've already purchased the reusable plates for next year, and we are so excited that Danville High School is making the change to reusables and making it a more environmentally friendly school. Thank you.
So now we have Cami Chapel and Kate and Mackenzie to present Cami's idea that we talked about earlier.
Yay, you three girls!
Hi, I'm Kate Irwin. As I said before, I'm Cami Chapel. I'm a continuing Okay.
Okay, so I'm Cami Chapel, and my idea that I came up with was a lot simpler than Celeste's plate problem. My idea involves the school recycling program, which is very minimal. There aren't very many recycling bins in any classrooms. So my idea, since I went to elementary school at Houstonville Elementary in Lincoln County, which was not in Danville, but every Friday I was always so excited because we would have recycling day, which would basically consist of one of the students getting chosen to take the recycling bin and run it down to the lobby. It was full of all of the paper that we had collected over the course of the week. so we would recycle it. It's a really simple solution to a pretty large issue. Not recycling paper causes a lot of problems to the planet, and by starting with paper, we can build on that, establish a solid foundation for paper recycling, and then build on that and maybe incorporate plastic recycling and other things.
So I think it's important to know exactly how much paper that we use today, and it's a lot, so I'm going to read some statistics. Americans now use about 31.5 million tons of printing and writing paper each year. It requires about 535 million trees and about 12 billion gallons of oil to make the paper. People, businesses, schools, and facilities or other organizations generate an average of 4.7 pounds of waste per person each day. Schools and other educational facilities often are among the largest waste generators in the city, county, and state. So we are using a lot of paper.
Also, at least 40% of the typical school waste stream is paper. So paper is the largest amount of waste that is produced in a school. And every year, nearly 900 million trees are cut down to provide raw materials for U.S. paper and pulp mills. To save this, each ton of recycled paper can save 17 trees, 380 gallons of oil, and 3 cubic yards of landfill space, 4,000 kilowatts of electricity, and 7,000 gallons of water. So by recycling paper, we are saving a lot of resources in the long run. Also, the energy used to recycle paper is about 70% less than energy needed to make paper from wood. So recycled paper is actually a lot easier to produce than regular paper that hasn't been recycled. So Mackenzie, talk about how it works.
So to make this happen, we have contacted the Recycling Center in Danville, and we have 40 classrooms here in Danville High School. And to start out, we're going to take, they may donate us recycling bins, and if not, we're going to get costs on them from them, and then we can get Lowe's or any other store like that in Danville to donate a bucket to sit in each classroom. And we can put it in the classrooms, the computer labs, and just encourage students to recycle their paper. Another thing is that we can encourage teachers to use both sides of the paper. Using, Mr. Meadows, Meadows does that. And one conflict that we came about is that some teachers just don't want to bring the bins down, and they can make the students do that. It's not that hard of a job to do to just bring a bin down. And I remember at Bay Middle School, we did it all the time. They had bins in each classroom, and we would bring them down each Friday morning. They would go around collecting them. So I don't think it'd be that hard of a task to complete.
And then also, we've already contacted the place, but we're awaiting like details and things like that we would need to solidify how we would actually go about doing this. But whenever we first contacted her, she seemed pretty willing and open to discuss it, so I don't think it would be that difficult. Danville High School could set up a day that would be best for both the recycling center and the school to for the recycling center to come pick it up. It could maybe happen on once every week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, just depending on the logistics and everything that needs to go into making this work. So, yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Okay. Okay, next under our presentations is just the personnel notifications from Dr. Luck. This is just for information only, so
Correct.
nothing
Yeah,
else can be.
questions?
Yeah, if there's any questions, just to let Dr. Luck know that's just for information purposes only.
sponsor? Is that just the sponsor? It's not the actual position.
It's the position of sponsor.
Okay, so it's not the entire.
No, that's just extra.
Okay. That was it. Okay. All right, we will move on to the approval of the previous meeting's minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes on April the 10th, April the 17th, as submitted.
Questions on that? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to reports. And the first was on Ms. Taylor. Are you ready, Ms. Taylor?
I submitted the procurement plan for the child nutrition program.
Okay.
And you all have a copy of it there. Should have everything on there, yes. Just stating that we will abide by our policies. There are also some federal policies that are a little stricter than even our state and board policies, mainly regarding American, which there's a clause in there that if at all possible, all our food will be obtained from American sources. So just ask you to look through that. If you have any questions, let me know.
Patty, can you remind us how many kids were fed last summer?
Oh my gosh, I'm right off the top of my head.
Just
but
take
it's so many.
Take a random, because I know it increased tremendously.
Yes, I know there's probably, I'm going to say 20-some thousand meals. Just for one, that's just for one meal. It's more by the time you get lunch, breakfast, and supper. And for this year, I've just got a request again today to add another site. So they continue to put in. We have 11 sites currently, and one in the process of getting approved. So we look forward to possibly being more. And we just talked with John Drake at the rec department. He's going to put up tables in 2 separate locations at the park to facilitate Monday through Thursday.
Well, that would be tremendous. I've seen this firsthand. It's remarkable what these ladies do for our community. And it's everybody in our community. So if a child is hungry, they need to eat, it's being provided. So I got to just applaud you guys.
And one other thing I would like to add, when they did a wonderful presentation on the recycling, is we had already purchased all the trays for that to happen, and they're ready, waiting for our August 16th. We didn't want to implement it right now with 2 or 3 weeks left in school, but we bought them about 2 weeks ago, and they're there, ready, waiting. So we heard and we listened.
Great, thank you. I have a question too, just on that same line, talking about recycling paper. Do we currently recycle all, like the number 10 cans?
Yes, yes, we do that, and there's also cardboard. We recycle the cardboard. You'll see those, there's bins provided for us for that. So yes, we've been recycling them. Well, actually, I think it was put into law back when Paul Patton was governor. So we've been doing that for a long time. We used to have to physically take them to the recycling center. So, we loaded them up, took them in our own cars, but since then they provided bins for us. Just recently, just last month, they got an extra bin or 2 I noticed it. I know it baked, I'm not sure if they bought an extra one up here, but we were having so much recycling, they had to have more bins, so, yeah, it's good.
Thank you. Accept a motion. Make a motion to approve the food service procurement plan.
Second.
Any questions on that? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Okay, Mr. Dean.
Okay, you should have a copy of the April financial summary, and we'll briefly go through that. We began the month of April with a balance of $8,885,000 and some change. During the month, we took in receipts of $2,122,000. Our claims or our payables for the month of April were $1,078,184.51, which we'll go through that in a minute, get the highlights of it. payroll expenditures for the month of April were $1,226,000 and some change. So we ended the month of April with a balance of $8,703,239.11. And you can look down through there and see how the reconciliation and number of outstanding checks. Also, towards the middle is a breakdown of that balance by fund that we maintain. Obviously, the general fund is the biggest one there, $6,085,000, and you can look down through the various other funds, our capital outlay, our building fund, construction fund, food service and type, and like I said, our ending balance was $8,703,000 and some change. And also presented on that sheet, you'll see a summary of where we were last year at this time. Our ending balance at the end of April is approximately $150,000 greater than what it was this time last year. At the bottom of the page is just a brief summary of the investment CD account that we have for the Tolliver renovation project. You can see the amount of the draws. We've had a total of 13 draws to date, the last one being this month of $210,491.94. So altogether, currently we've drawn down $9,030,000 of the $14,301,000. So we've got a current CD balance of $5,271,538.98 left for the construction and renovation. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see the amount of interest that we've earned on that CD since its inception. Right now, we're at a total of $89,798.85 that we've earned. Second page that you have is just a summary of the Fund 1 or our general fund receipts. You can look down through the description and see the various types of receipts that we take in, from general property tax to public service commission tax, motor vehicle, and on down the line, our SEEK funds. And for the month of April, our total monthly receipts were $1,026,273.22. And you can see where we are year to date, and provided over in the next to the last column is the last year to date, kind of give a comparison of where we were from April 2016. The last page on that report is a similar summary for our expenditures, broken down by function, and you can kind of see everything that was spent for the month, from instruction all the way down through plant operation and maintenance, transportation. Gives a total expenditure of $1,155,879.16 for the month. Year to date, $10.858 million, and you can look over in that same column next to the last and see what the expenditures were last year to date, and see that right now we're at about $428,000 less than what we had spent last year.
Financial report is submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Want to move on to the payment of invoices?
Yes, you've been provided a list of all of the invoices that were paid during the month of April, and I just want to go through. As we said on the first page, the total payables were $1,078,184.51. Kind of a summary breakdown of what those contain. Of that total, $677,980.96 were for the Tolliver construction and renovation project. That was for the month of April. I told you for the month of May, we've already had a drawdown of $210,000, so it's kind of tailed off a little bit. Also in the month of April, we had $18,655 that was paid for bonds, principal, and interest to U.S. Bank. Some of the other things that highlight during the month, we paid $12,887 for window replacement of the Swain Gymnasium. If you go by and look at those, it looks a whole lot better. We spent $9,380 on the Tolliver playground move to get it into the place where it is now. $3,500 on stadium gates at Admiral Stadium. If you've been by to see those, it's a much needed improvement over what we had there. They really look nice. One of the big expenditures we had was for furniture for the Tolliver building. We spent $74,694.50 with school specialty. We should be expecting another invoice from Danville Office Equipment as we kind of split some things up. I think it's probably about 10 or 12,000 that we should be coming in for the extra things, desks and chairs for the teachers and things like that. We've offered DOE, so that'll be on next month's expenditures. Also, we spent $19,380 on the swing floor tile replacement. A big majority of that amount was covered under insurance, where we had a sewage backup and it kind of messed everything up in there, so we had to have them replaced. But insurance did cover a large portion of that. So, one other thing that I added on there is we removed some fiber line that was connecting our schools that ran through Morley's Wheel Service property. We no longer needed that, and so in order to exit the contract with Mr. Morley, where we were paying him an annual fee for use of that, we had that line removed, and so we won't have to worry about it anymore. So when you look at those expenditures, that totals about a little over $818,000, and so that leaves of that $1,078,000, 250, almost $260,000 for utilities, food service, repairs and maintenance, supplies, transportation, and those type of expenditures, routine monthly expenditures.
Make a motion to approve the payment of invoices totaling $1,078,184.51 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Paul, is this where you want to add in the KEDC membership agreement?
No, we'll do that last.
Okay.
We'll do that as item G.
Okay.
What I want to get into now is approval for the roofing project that was previously approved under BG 17117 for partial replacement. It'll be the last phase of the Bate Middle School roof and the first phase for the Danville High School roof covering Gravely Hall. We had previously approved in November the BG1, and that was approved by the Department of Education. And subsequent to that, we've held the bid opening for the contractors to get an actual cost. So now, after determining what we put on the original BG1 was just an estimate by the architect on what he thought the cost would be. So now we've had the bid openings, and actually the bids came in a little bit higher than what the architect had expected. So I guess what I would like to do is at the same time we're approving the revised BG1, approve the roofing contractor that was the low bidder. We had a total of 4 roofing contractors to bid on the project. The low bid was by Pierce Blackburn Roofing LLC at a bid of $657,420. What we had originally placed on the BG1 was $615,878. So a little bit of an increase there. That contractor was recognized by the architect, and he recommended that we go with the low bid of Pierce Blackburn over the other bids. The next lowest bid came in after the 657. The next lowest bid was $761,100. So a substantial low bid on that one from Pierce Blackburn.
Can you give us that amount again? That's for Pierce Blackburn.
$657,420. So our BG1 now, the revised BG1 that we need to approve has a new construction cost for the $657,420. Nothing else changed on the expenditure side, but it did increase the total project cost, including the architect fee and the construction contingencies, which we left at $30,800 to $708,045. Now, a little bit of bad news as far as the bids coming in more than what was anticipated, but a little bit of good news on the funds available side is that originally we had estimated, as far as our capital outlay and our building fund amounts that we were going to utilize for this project, those numbers have since been increased by the Department of Education. So a little bit of good news there. Our capital outlay fund, we estimated at $162,000. It's actually $167,702. Our building fund remainder, we had estimated at $363,221, which is now going to be $398,844. So good news, bad news kind of situation where our funds available has increased, but along with the amount of the construction costs. So I'm asking that you approve the BG1 revised at a total of $708,045.
Motion to approve of the revised BG 17-117 for the partial roof replacement at BMS and DHS at the amount of $708,045 as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the second form is a BG2. The BG2 and the BG3 are new forms that have come along from KDE in recent years where they just require a little bit more information. The BG2 is an outline, specification, energy, design criteria. That's filled out by the architect. Really nothing that we do, but I've given you a copy of that so that you can see what the architect has put on there. Not a lot for this project, mainly because we're talking about roofs and not a building. And so there's not a lot of things to fill out on it, but what you can see what they did put down. There are 4 pages in here and how it applies to our roofing project.
Questions on that one?
We need a motion.
Yes, please.
I think a motion, the approval of the BG2 partial roof replacement at VMS and DHS as submitted.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
And the final one, the architect, we just decided to go ahead and do this all in one fell swoop so that we can get this to KDE and get it approved so that we can start the roofing projects a little bit earlier, not have to wait on all the paperwork. The final one is that we want to approve is a BG3, and this is basically just a statement of probable cost. It kind of mirrors the BG1 on the expenditure side where you have to detail what is being spent for, all the way from site development down to if you've got asbestos abatement, anything like that, they want to know about it. So basically, the only things that we have on here are the construction costs, the architect fee, and then the contingency, which KDE wants a 5% added onto that, just in case there's something that pops up. So we're at a total of $708,045 here, just like we were on the revised BG.
Move that we approve the BG3 partial roof replacement document. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll add on.
Now, the final thing that I have is wanted to get approved. This is our annual renewal of our membership with the Kentucky Educational Development Corporation, or KEDC. You can look at the attachment that Teresa put on. It has, you can see the different things that KEDC does for us as far as the services they provide. And then the cost for this for the 2017-2018 year is $2,222.40. I looked it up. This actually represents a decrease from the previous year of $118.68.
We don't actually have that attachment.
Oh, I thought she attached it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. If anybody
I
needs
can
to see
get
that.
a copy too. They do things like networking, professional development opportunities, advice, limited legal services, salary surveys, ranking reports, minority recruiting, advertising, munis support, those types of various things.
Traditionally, we belong to 2 co-ops, KDC and CKDC. These are annual fees, and we do just to maintain our involvement.
I'll make a motion to approve approve of the KEDC 2017-18 membership agreement as submitted.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, thank you, Paul. All right. We will move on now to the next item on the agenda, which is Bay Middle School. We actually have a couple items under this line item, I guess you would say. First of all, I just want to thank Mr. Ball and a lot of others that are out here tonight for, I guess, helping a lot of us maybe understand some history that some of us probably weren't aware of. It certainly was never our intent by any means to disregard something that's obviously such a very important part of debate history. I think initially we were all just looking at ways to kind of do things a little different, knowing that we were going to be doing things different with our elementary schools. And, soon thereafter, we're able to hear from folks like Mr. Ball, who've had a history with Bates School and what the importance of that Bulldog mascot means to so many people and to this district. So obviously it's given us a time to think and reconsider and really look at what that means. So the first item on the agenda is to actually talk about the mascot itself. We had originally talked about kind of bringing everything together as animals, but now I know we certainly want to reconsider that possibility. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that at this time. No? Okay.
Well, just a couple things. It's really been interesting. I'm not from Danville. I mean, we've been involved in the system now for about 28 years. All my kids went to Bay High School, all that, which has been a great experience. I probably have had about, I think I last counted 36 phone calls and several emails, which is good. I have no problem with that. That actually all the phone calls and emails have been really positive. What I found intriguing was it wasn't just the graduates of Bate and past, but it's also the ones who have gone through present that really made an effort to let me know just how important the Bulldogs are just to Bate. That really made a difference to me because that means that everybody truly believes that the Bulldogs need to be the mascot of that school. So there was this term that came up, midshipman, and I've been trying to figure out for the life of me what that was or who they were. And I found an article in the Advocate in 1970 that said my father-in-law, Paul Arnold, was considered a Bate band official. That's pretty intriguing. And of course they had 7 kids that went to schools and also went to band. But it turned out that the midshipman term was related only to the band. So, because I was able to go back and really try to research that. So asking just relatives who went through Bate, they all really did remember that name for the band. I guess it's not used anymore. So with that and such the strong positive remarks that I got from about the 40 people that I communicated with, I firmly believe we need to have it Bate Bulldogs.
Else have anything they want to add to that?
Agreed.
All right, well, we will. Is that in the form of a motion?
Well, I will make it in the form of a motion. I would happily make the motion that we retain the name of the mascot at Bate Middle School as the Bulldogs.
We'll make it official with a vote, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then the next item actually under Bate was the actual name update of the school. Troy kind of brought it to my attention one night we were talking, and I know he probably talked to some others, that when you look at the names of the other elementary schools, which we all feel very, very strongly to keep the names on the buildings, because obviously there's history with those names. Those are very important people to this district and to our community and to our schools. That we realized that for Bate, we have the name of Danville Bate Middle School. And so why not indeed make that official with Mr. Bates' full name on the school? So that is what this next item is. I don't know, Troy, if you'd like to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, and kind of thanks to Mr. Trumbo, who brought that to my attention in the last meeting. And, you know, we have all the women's names, full names up there. And this is a long time coming. This should have been done years ago. And because of that, let me read a little bit of this. John W. Bate was a Berea College alum who is best known for his work teaching and serving as principal of Bate School for 59 years. Bate School was a public school which exclusively served the African American population of Danville until school integration occurred in the 1950s. And I'll just go down and read you his career. And so Bate decided that he wanted more than anything to serve his people through teaching. He accepted a position in Danville, Kentucky, serving as the lone teacher of a one-room schoolhouse that had been built by Freedmen's Bureau after the Civil War. He encountered many obstacles during his first year there, including a shoddy building and a residence of the local African community, many of whom believed that only private religion institutes could provide a quality education. The principal at the local black private Baptist school even urged Bate to give up his common school and return to Berea. Bate persisted, however, and he recruited the daughter of a lone black minister as one of his teachers. He brought 10 children from her from the father's congregation. More students followed the initial 10. As soon as so many children were enrolled at Bate School that the private black school was driven out of business. During his tenure, Bate watched his school expand from one room to 20, from one teacher to 15, from 6 students to 600 students. Mr. Bate led the school forever forward, serving as its principal for an amazing 59 years until his retirement at the age of 85. And that right there in itself should always be, that's the history, that's the legacy, it will always stand in Danville. And so I would like to make a motion that we update the name to be John W. Bate Middle School and submit it.
Second. Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. So, thank you all very much. At this time, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the 2017-18 salary schedule.
So attached to your e-meeting is the updated version. You can see by the date and time, May 11th, 4:45 p.m. We have continued to fill in columns and so forth, and compared to the last one, this now includes, help me guys, we did instructional assistant, we added bus monitor, and updated,
Instructional
assistants, bus monitor,
service.
they've all been included.
That's right.
I've also sent you a cost summary. In fact, let me go to the other side so that way you can get questions easier for discussion. And I actually might have an updated cost summary for you as well, which Teresa, I might need your help with.
Bate alumni, thank you all for showing up.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you also have the updated also. What Teresa's going to do, she's going to pull up the, I sent you a cost summary.
Yes.
We've updated a couple numbers. Teresa's going to pull that up so that way you can see we were able to with the changes that we made to bus monitor and so forth, you'll see the grand totals. I'm not sure that's included in the original version that was sent out to you. So you've seen this, if you'll scroll down, the only thing different, I believe, is the last two items before the line, 18 and 19. So this includes adjustments for instructional assistants, and this includes adjustments for custodians, which custodial adjustment was about an additional 14 grand, and instructional assistants was an additional 7 grand. The subtotal of items 1 through 19, which was a list of all the changes that were made, was 36.7. When you look at the budget that you passed
Can you
in
say
March,
that again? Subtotal was
36.7. So essentially you're adding, with the plus minus of those first 21 items, first 19 items, is adding $36,700 to the general fund annual recurring costs. If you recall, in the budget that you passed in March overall, we were going to fund the Pathways coach $30,000 out of the grant. Well, that's $30,000 of savings. And then when that position transitions to a site-based management position, that's an additional $45,000 in savings. So when you look at the added cost, plus what you've taken away, it is in fact to the good of $38,000 by doing this, you're putting back into the general fund. So all of these shifts ultimately equal almost $40,000 cost savings to the district. Sorry. What?
Do you mind really quick, sorry?
Sure.
The highlighted, the 18 and 19, just to.
Sorry,
Go through those just one more
just zoom
time.
in. Increased beginning pay for instructional assistants. And we adjusted the pay from years 0 through 5 to be competitive with other. If you remember, you saw the charts about where we rank so forth.
Right.
So we're adjusting instructional assistants in 0 through 5, which today, based upon who's employed and so forth, would cost us an additional $7,300.
Okay.
And then the next one is increasing beginning pay for custodians and extending those pay increases through the 24th year. That's why it costs more, because it adjusts all the way through.
Right.
And that's a total of cost of $14,000 per current.
Thank you.
You can scroll over this one. This one's the perfect. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, there you go. Perfect. So again, 1 through, what was that, 19? Is a total of $36,000, $36,700. Then with the decisions that were made, you'll go down a little bit. Again, with the budget that passed in March, there was a savings over a 2-year period of $75,000, which still then puts back into the general fund $38,000. There was an additional change, just general savings of 28 days because the PEP grant closed. I did not include it in this calculation because that was scrambled. I didn't want it to show it. It's not affecting the general fund. That's something you need to be aware of.
So I had a couple questions.
Okay.
Like the district-wide Young Achievers position?
Yes.
I don't guess I understand what that is that we're eliminating that.
It's a position that hasn't been filled in a couple of years, and because of its non-use, there's a chance to then put that money back in the general fund.
And then what about the choral music director position?
Same, in that with a music position, we've done our traditional concerts. If you look at instrumental music, it includes marching band, in particular, and so forth. The big productions above and beyond your actual concerts. Choir, we have not done big productions above and beyond what is generally assumed to be part of the choral instructor position. So by deleting that stipend because it hasn't been used, it goes back into the budget for savings.
But that's not eliminating the choir, like the class.
That's just a stipend for an extra duty position.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, adding the lead assistant cheer coach. I know I have a question about that too. Was that a request for additional need, or was it?
Yes.
I just noticed we just had 2, so I was curious as to.
It wasn't, and there was also the offer from the league. The head coach is grandfathered at a higher salary. The head coach is actually asked to make less money, which I didn't calculate into this because it was going to get into individual people rather than positions. Head coach said, I'm willing to take less money beyond the salary schedule that the district has set if you'll get me an extra assistant. And actually the cost overall is actually less than what appears here, because if you figure in that difference, but that was going to get into too many specifics. So essentially makes cheerleading is the longest season in the history of athletics. So the ability of trying to provide some additional support is a useful part.
And then remind me again what the need for the increased number of days for the transportation manager was.
It is, we run buses between summer programs, summer athletics and so forth, holiday breaks. We run buses all the time. And this is a position that we've tried to fit right, and we still are adjusting it from what it was 2 years ago. We're in a situation now where our transportation manager actually has already run out of days. And that's not a situation we can be in. Part of that comes from our management side of making sure his time is, that position's time is well managed. And part of it's the realization that no matter how well managed it is, we think an additional 10 days will allow us to balance it appropriately throughout a year. And I've already talked to Ms. Denny about how we're going to work next year to make sure those 210 days last us for the time that is necessary. That position qualifies for overtime as it is, so even without the days, the time would have to be funded anyway, so this is a way of better and more accurately estimating the cost of that position.
Then on clarification on number 1, were there any mandated increases for this year?
No mandated increases.
Certainly most of these, we want to get to a point where we are competitive with our surrounding districts, and especially starting out, if this is where it's going to get us to a good point.
Well, pretty cool to do that and still save the district $40,000 at the same time.
That's a good thing to have, so. Questions on that?
Should be good.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this one separately, is that right, before moving on to the other staffing positions?
It's a completely separate conversation, yes.
Okay. All right.
I make a motion for the approval of the 2017-2018 salary schedule as submitted.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Then, as other updates come through, we'll come back for any other adjustments. This is a document that anytime there's a change by a penny here or there, we come back to you and make sure that folks are aware of those adjustments that come through. Series of staffing positions that were shared with you in job descriptions. We talked about at work session and now presented before you. We can go through these individually if you like, in conversation that would fit. First is a director of schools position. You saw what I sent you as far as what the overall package would be by combining director of elementary and secondary ed and then redistributing those funds. The positions that are created really are represented in A, B, C, and D. So we probably need to approve them individually, but if you'd like to talk about them in a group or ask a question to any one of those is related, I'm happy to discuss.
Should we start with the director of schools?
Sure.
Anybody have any specific questions in regards to the director of schools position?
I know we talked about it a little bit last week, and I do have a concern of finding that particular person whose experience truly does span from basically kindergarten through 12.
It will be difficult to find.
So are you looking to filling the position with the hopes that this person has a lot of general knowledge in these areas, and that it would be some learning on the job? Or do you think that this magical person, that they really exist? That's what I worry about. The magical person.
The magical person does not exist. I have no confidence that that person exists. What I do have confidence in is that even with the passage of Senate Bill 1, overnight K through 12 education has changed. So it's got to be someone who's got the ability to learn education, as well as, possibly more importantly, facilitate the learning of others, no matter their curriculum. So the skill set is not specific to necessarily one age group. It is more about appropriate leadership when it comes to the development of school leadership and school capacity, any age level. Obviously, the more background they have in the more grade levels, that would be great, but in the grand scheme of things, there are multiple ways in which we can plug in that kind of expertise and train people in those ways.
So and the sooner that we get this put out or approved, that we can get ourselves looking for these positions.
That's true.
Help.
I was just curious on the minimum 3 years of experience in secondary then. So why were you leaning more toward that as opposed to the elementary?
I mentioned last week that with Tyler becoming the largest school in the district at 600 kids, that principal is going to have the greatest influence over elementary education, just simply by sheer scale. So, and with right now, as we stand in the district with our newest principals in 6 through 12, the preference would be for that to be the case. If that's not there, I think there's ways that we can adjust to work. At the same point in time, if the right person doesn't appear as an applicant at all, we can adjust from there too. There's a dominoes that essentially fall from this.
That's kind of my question.
By adding these positions, you're not deleting the other ones necessarily. They're still on the books. And if it's not the right folks, then we still have the ability to nimbly adjust as necessary.
So, because I know, for instance, like the data coordinator, that was somebody that would report directly to the director of schools. But if you don't have the director of schools, so that's obviously kind of your
There's no chicken and egg. We know what order this is going.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I want to make sure is that at some point, do you kind of have a time frame for if you don't have the person that you're looking for, at what point you kind of decide, okay, hang on, we're going to...
Well, two different options, I guess, will exist at that point. One, I commit to being fiscally neutral, so I can't hire, like this doesn't work unless I find all of them. So there's a 30-day posting window. I would imagine that at day 20, which then would have been end of most people's school year, the chance for those folks that are looking around for other opportunities likely would have identified and put in by then. I'll see what the pool is. If the pool is not there, then we adjust. And my goal ultimately still is to have the team in place by July 1.
Troy, questions, comments, anybody else? Do we want to, let's just move on down if there are other questions, and then, is that okay, or do we need to have that motion? Okay, so then there's the grants coordinator.
This is again based upon the fact that what bogs down your leadership is state and federal grants have lots and lots of bureaucratic pieces to them. They have a maze in of themselves, and actually right now under ESSA and new U.S. Secretary of Education are undergoing changes currently. Being able to have someone focus on that will allow the director to continue to focus on the greater good of schools and still making sure that the money is spent well and managed correctly.
You know, and looking at these three positions, one thing I realize is that it's a never-ending job that's always going to involve changes. And so that's where we got to have the folks in that have the flexibility to be able to ebb and flow with what's going on statewide and federal-wide. So, and of course, we have to acquiesce to all that. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting, I mean, definitely needed for our district, all this. But getting these folks here could be a challenge. But I think we can. Yeah.
So we will still maintain the grants and special projects position, and the grants coordinator would do the financial management of those grants, correct?
Two separate things entirely. So this is a new position purely about state and federal grants and possibly some other grants management. So like, for example, Read to Achieve, which we've already got, would fall under the purview of this position. We have on the books also a position called grant writer, which has been used in bits and pieces towards that. I suspect in June, as I showed you guys earlier this week about how we want to evolve public relations on those services, again, trying to be fiscally neutral, I may be doing some reworking of those job duties and descriptions. A lot of that, though, hinges upon if you are comfortable approving these this evening when what it evolves into.
Okay. So that was that kind of leads into my other question, is it seems like this position is heavily just bogged down with all the accounting, budgeting, and overseeing the financial part of it, but it doesn't talk a lot about actually writing the grants, or, you know, are we just pushing those grants out and expecting the teachers to write those? Or
State and federal grants we don't have to write, we qualify.
Okay, I guess I'm thinking more private type grants.
And I think we will see as this individual becomes comfortable in the role, it may be an opportunity to do so. But right now, we all participate in grants, whether I bring on the CTL online, whether Judy's gotten us the Beehive grant, when it was Dr. Slack that got us the Read to Achieve. Grants have really never been just in one office. They really have been spread across. And the more in which folks can take on those duties and responsibilities. I mean, the mini grants are another good example. As a district, we've always had multiple people always in the pursuit and acquisition of grants. And that's likely a more healthy process to move forward.
But this is the point person
Of state and federal. Of state and federal. Whether or not it would include DSEF, education, mini grant coordination, and so forth, I don't know. It's possible, but there's also a number of ways in which that's going to be managed. There's a level of legal compliance that must fit with these. I got to make sure it's covered first.
Any questions on the grants coordinator position? The next one is the data coordinator position.
This is essentially an updated job description to the position that was approved last year for essentially an instructional coach for middle and high. We learned then both what it would take to attract a candidate and also from having another year with our middle and high school and the capacity of our principals to lead those schools to see what would best serve their needs. And so we have updated the job description to reflect that. This is a grant-funded position. It comes out of Title II. Paul said it is Title II, correct? Teacher quality, same synonymous. Yes. Thank you.
Any specific questions on this one? Move on to the halftime.
So this, in ELL, this is again, this really we're not changing a job description here, we're not creating, and really in June you'll be approving positions. We just want to get ahead of the game a little bit in this role so you can see where your money would go if this whole domino system fell the way in which it was laid out. The number of students we have requiring English language learner services has increased dramatically, and the number of students exiting has decreased dramatically based upon new standards of exiting, which is actually a good thing. It means that more students will be receiving more services for longer periods of time. In order for that to happen, we need to increase staff. Based upon the numbers that are involved and the analysis that's been applied, we believe an additional 0.5 will help meet the needs of our English language learner positions. I would not be surprised if in years to come, this isn't a number that continues to increase. But at this point in time, this is where we feel we are, and it even allows us to do so with no additional cost to the general fund.
Questions on that? We'll move on then to the speech language.
This one is completely unrelated, so we may want to go back here pretty quickly, but I'll at least discuss it and then we'll go from there. Speech language is one of the most interesting, they have a unique place in the certification world. The person with the same credentials or very parallel credentials can exist on both the classified side and the certified side to do the same job. We have a certified job description for speech language, but there are also a strong pool of speech language people absolutely qualified to do exactly the same work, same costs, same legal issues that are considered classified. So we're asking the board to create the parallel spots so we can broaden the number of people who can qualify for the same role, same duties, same salary schedule. There is no cost advantage, there is no disadvantage given to anybody else. It's just the fact that this is, I think, the only field where this happens, that there is a classified and certified path that are parallel.
So going back to the other, on that, kind of what we were going to consider, we had a 0.2 gifted and talented. Is that still?
We'll hold that until June. Currently, we have, it's one of those areas that we're likely going to need to increase. What shows you in that equation is the fact that there is still room for us to consider. I know that you may have been approached by folks about GT services. I know I have been. There could be the opportunity for us by June to increase that and still be at no additional cost to the general fund. So we have a posting now for 0.5. We think 0.5 will provide us enough services. But when you cross the threshold for a position from 0.5 to 0.7, it becomes eligible for full-time benefits. So we're curious as to what applicant pool will draw. It may turn out that we need to go to 0.7 to attract the appropriate candidates, it may be that we need to go 0.7 or make sure that we expand our services. Right now it's 0.5. There's a good chance in June that I'm going to go ahead on that staffing run to ask you to add the additional 2 tenths. But you'll know it's not going to cost the city additional money compared to what we spent in the past.
Now, is there not a state reimbursement on gifted talent? I know it's not.
We get a state grant for gifted and
Grant, but it's
talented,
not
and the
much.
majority, yeah, about 19,000, and the majority of what we pay for our gifted and talented now is covered by that grant.
But it's a 0.2 position.
It's 0.5.
0.5.
So it's the same thing like with English language and with migrant. That essentially the money that we get from the grants goes to services to kids, and it's general.